Today, I'm going to be sharing with you about a hidden cooling measure that I don't see anybody talking about. And this is going to have severe impact, especially if you're a seller or if you're a buyer in the market today, because it will have cascading effects on the property market. So what is this secret cooling measure that I'm talking about? Now, just before we begin, this video right here is for educational and informational purposes only, but it will help you to make a better decision, in my opinion, on the real estate market. Let's just dive right into the meat of it. Essentially, what the government did on September of 2022 was release this news about a harmonization of GFA. Okay, and to kind of summarize it for you, you can of course go to the URA website and read it up by yourself. But to really summarize it for you, what they basically do was try to harmonize the way all the different government agencies recognize gross floor area or GFA. And by doing so, it allows a little bit more of a symmetry between the government organizations, which I do think it's a very good thing. Now, the key thing here is this. There are two main things that will impact specifically the way gross floor areas will be calculated. Firstly, is that from now on, all strata areas will be included as GFA. And I'll share with you why this is so significant. Secondly, all void areas are also excluded from strata area computations. And these two changes alone will have drastic impact on the market itself. So why is this so? We must understand, previously before the 1st of September 2022, there were 3 different areas that was not included into GFA. This was what they coined bonus GFA, which accounts to 7% that developers are given. So before 1st of September 2022, the developers, they were given this thing called a bonus GFA, which accounts to about 7% extra. So think about it this way. You're getting 7% of extra area that you can build, but do you think the developers are going to be so nice and give to consumers for free? No, right? They are definitely going to charge the consumers. So this 7% bonus GFA is almost 100% ROI in terms of profit margin for the developer. So the 3 most common areas not counted into GFA that the developer always take advantage of is aircon ledge, wall curtain, and void areas, which I'll touch on a little bit for you as well. The way that the government implements certain measures will make developers behave a certain way as well. So remember, aircon ledge last time was not counted into the GFA. And that is why we started to see what happened. Developers starting to build extra big aircon ledges. In fact, this is an infamous condominium development that a lot of the residents actually complain about the huge aircon ledges that was built into their unit, part of the square area, and more importantly, they paid for it, right? 5-meter long aircon ledges. Now, just to give you all some context, aircon ledges, okay, there's been a study, right? Roughly for 3 bedrooms, the average aircon ledge over the past few years has been an average of 3.7%. So out of the entire unit, 3.7% up to even 4.4% actually is from the aircon ledge. And all these are actually free profit margin from the developer. And it is significant, which I will be showing you later as well. Another very common feature, this is usually found in the older developments, especially those that were built from 2010 all the way to 2013, is this thing called bay window, right? So if you've ever been to any condominium, you notice that near the window area where there's a wall, you suddenly see an extended ledge. Okay, this is known as a bay window. And why this is significant is because the bay window area previously was not included in the GFA calculation, which means that developer started to build all these bay windows, but they could charge it to consumers. Okay? We look at another one is the void areas. So void areas, what is it? It's essentially airspace. Okay? And the thing about this, developers can build void areas and it is counted into the floor space. Later, I'll show you an example why this is so significant. Now, remember, developers, they get this free, but you always pay for it. And strata void areas may even account to 30% to 50% of the total floor area of the unit itself. So how can you quickly identify units with such void areas. Of course, if you're at the unit itself and you see a ceiling height that usually exceeds 3 meters, usually those like 4 meter, 5 meter, 6 meter ceiling heights, those are a telltale sign. All right, please double check to ensure the floor area listed on the floor plan does not include that airspace. Okay, if it does include, then it is very misleading. Secondly, if let's say you are only given the floor plan, you cannot check for yourself. Developers still need to indicate on the floor plan, which is usually indicated by a dotted line, for where the strata void area is. And just to share with you how significant this void area for a two-bedder, is, a typical two-bedroom in this development is 570 square feet. However, those with the strata void area, like the super high ceilings, they will account to 700 square feet. Now, this difference of 130 square feet is essentially the extra that you pay on paper just for airspace, right? And it accounts for what? 22%, right? 22% of just purely airspace, right? So really, to me, wasted space, all right? Because you cannot build anything there anyway. So if we account for everything, right, on average, aircon ledgers account for 3.7% to 4.4% of all the total floor area. Wall curtain, which is basically the in between the walls between two different units. Okay, sometimes last time developers like to build very thick walls in between two units to maximize that. Usually they will count to 1.5 to 2%. Then we have void areas. Usually not all units will have void areas. So most of the time, if you look at the entire development, probably we are talking about 1.6% to 2%. So in total, whenever a developer is building, a new development, we are talking about 6.8% to 8.4% of extra profit margin because they are given this 7% bonus GFA. Now, why does this all matter? So let me just do some numbers with you. So assuming a 7% bonus GFA scenario, I take a land plot. This is in Realtor Hills. And we can take a look. Realtor Hills, the gross floor area maximum allowable to be built on this plot of land is 22,720 square meters or 239,714 square feet. Now, if we add on a 7% bonus GFA on top of that, we are talking about an additional $16,780 square feet. And the Realtor area, assuming the sale price on average that's going right now in the market is $2,100 per square feet. And the construction cost for this bonus GFA, just to share with you, for example, if a developer is building a aircon latch, all right, they don't need to add on much additional cost for it, right? Because there's not a lot of reinforcement structure that needs to be built. Or if let's say they're giving void area, even cheaper. So usually the construction cost per square feet for this kind of bonus GFA areas is about $250 per square feet. So doing the maths, right? How much profit can they actually generate from this 7%, right? Let's say we use a real life example now of Realtor Hills Road, this parcel B land plot. We will take $1,850 PSF, which is the profit PSF, times the 7% GFA, which is 16,780 square feet. We are talking about $31.043 million in additional profit for the developer. That is a lot, and that is very significant. However, with this new change by the government, what has happened? Right, so we take a look. Previously, for this Realtor Hills Road, the developer's cost is $487.5 million. And I already calculated for you. Previously, with this bonus GFA, they could make an extra $31 million. So this $31 million is, they still have to build, right? I mean, they still have to build aircon ledgers. They still have to build certain structurally important things. So what will happen is that this $31 million, instead of being a profit margin, it now become a added cost to the developers. So that new cost for the developer, right, instead of $487.5 million, we need to add the $31.043 million. That will become $518.54 million, which means the developer's break-even price increases now to $2,163 PSF PPR, which represents a 8.5% decreased profit margin for the developer. So why is this so important? Is because for land sales after September 2022, right, ever since this new regulation of the GFA harmonization has come out, you need to actually add an additional 7 to 10% to the developer's break-even price, which means whatever break-even that you have calculated for the developer, you need to add this additional margin to it, because otherwise, the calculations might be wrong. You might not be able to get the most accurate figure. So developers, they now have 7 to 10% lesser profit margin, and their cost has gone up essentially. So what can developers do, right? Essentially, developers have two different options that they can explore, right? I mean, if your cost is going to go up 7 to 10%, right, the first thing you can do is what? You can cut costs to maintain the sale price, or you can actually pass on the cost to consumers, which means you sell them at a higher price. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a quick few seconds to make a guess. Which do you think is the most viable option being a developer? Now, if you are thinking that developers are just going to pass on the cost to consumers, I can tell you that this is quite an unlikely scenario, because the market might not be able to accept, and affordability of people also might not be able to keep up if they do it at this current juncture. The most likely scenario that developers will do is to cut costs to maintain the sale price. Now, knowing this, we think about it as well. A developer is in the business of redeveloping land, right? Essentially, that is it. And when it comes to purchasing land in Singapore, developers only have two options, right? Number one, they either go to government land sales, known as GLS for short. This is land that is actually sold by the government. Just to give you some statistics, 75% of the land in Singapore is owned by the government. So they are the biggest land owner in Singapore itself. So they can go to the government through GLS, or they can hit to the private market for enbloc. Now think about this. Who do you think would be the easiest choice for the developer to go towards, given that you know that now they need to cut their costs by 7 to 10%? Think about this. I gave you a very, very important clue. Now that the developers need to cut their costs by 7 to 10%, who do you think is an easier party to approach? The answer is actually government land sales. Now, why is this so? For government land sales, very simply, it is a closed bid type of auction. So what happens is, if let's say a few developers want a plot of land, they will all submit their bids, but everybody doesn't know each other's bids. So it's a closed bid system. And of course, based on that, the highest bid will win. Now, you think about it, a developer, if they are all affected by this same issue, right? If everybody knows that we are all affected, we are all going to have our cost increased by 7 to 10%, logically, all of us are going to what? Bid 7 to 10% lower minimally. Am I right? So this is something that most developers will do, and this is something that I anticipated, and we are already seeing this happen on the ground. Now, why is enbloc probably dead? Why have I, since 2023, mentioned that enbloc market is dead? The very simple answer is this. Just think about an enbloc as a seller. Now, you just go out to the resale market. Imagine today you're buying a property, you go out to the resale market, and you try to negotiate and bargain someone's price that's listed on Property Guru, for example, lower by 7 to 10%. Do you think it's going to be easy? Probably not, right? Now, you think of enbloc, where you need 80%, right? So we're talking about what? A few hundred sellers. You need to convince all of them, or 80% of them minimally, to sell you at 7 to 10% lower. All right. Is this an easy task to do? I don't think so. That is why I would say the enbloc market is dead, unless the enbloc sellers are a little bit more on a desperate situation, a more realistic situation, and they are willing to slash their enbloc sales price by 7 to 10%. So I'm going to be sharing with you what are some of the impacts. Right? Remember earlier at the start of this video, I said that there will be cascading impacts on the rest of the property market with this GFA harmonization. And the main thing that we will see reflected is in the future sales prices. That is why we want to observe all the GLS sites that are being sold recently. All right, look at what's their break-even prices and do the computation of what is the potential sale price, because this will give us a very clear image of what's potentially going to happen to the real estate market in a very few short years in time. Take a look. This is Champions Way. This is in Woodlands. All right. Given the break-even price that the developer has of $1,687 PSF, based on the calculation before there was this GFA harmonization. Based on a 15% profit margin, the developer is looking at $1,940 per square feet sale price. But with this new regulation, with this new secret cooling measure, we're now talking about a sale price of around $2,000 PSF, all the way upwards to even $2,200 PSF. We look at another suburban location. This is in Clementi area. With this new GFA harmonization, we're talking about $2,653 PSF. Right? I know it's very unheard of, but this has always been the trend. Right? Whenever land sales price increase, whenever the cost increase, this is the cascading effect that happens in the market. Right? We look at another one. This is in Hillview area. We're talking about $2,200 to even $2,400 PSF potential sale price that you could be seeing in this area moving forward. Right? We look at the east now. I bring you to the east. This is in Jalan Tembusu. We are talking about a $2,300 all the way to $2,500 PSF based on the new break-even by the developer with the GFA harmonization regulations. Right? I look at another one. This is in Bukit Timah. We are going to be expecting $2,008 to even $3,000 PSF. All right. This is in the city fringe location. And I can keep going on and on. But I believe you get the picture. We are seeing a revision of the benchmark prices for each individual region in Singapore. And this has been only accelerated with the area harmonization changes. What do I see things moving forward? Already right now, at this current juncture, we are already seeing OCR prices on average transacting at $2,100 PSF, the RCR benchmark prices at $2,500, and the CCR at $3,000. With area harmonization, we will see an uptick in this number by at least 20% plus minus based from my calculations. And if you still think that this is probably something that cannot happen, I want to just bring you back 3 years ago. Just 3 years ago, we are talking about suburban areas in the OCR transacting at $1,500 PSF. We are talking about city fringe transacting at only $2,000 PSF. We are talking about CCR transacting at $2,600 PSF. We can see what was last time the city fringe price is now today the suburban price. Last time what was transacted in the core central areas, Orchard Road, Tanjong Pagar, Raffles Place, is now transacting at the city fringe prices. This is a very important piece of information that I'd like to share with you. So take it in, right? See how we can actually work out with this information that I've given you. And I hope that you have learned a lot today. Now, I hope you have learned something today in this very quick and short video. All right. And I hope it gives you more clarity as to what's going to happen in the property market, what's the direction we're heading to. And of course, I hope this empowers you to make a better decision. Now, if you enjoyed this video, do me a favor, like it, share it to someone who will benefit, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye-bye.